Hello everybody, today I'll be showing you how to upgrade the binomial expansion program that we built in the previous video. Alright, and what I mean by that is we're going to add a scrolling capability to our display screen. Alright, so we can display through our terms in our answer. Alright, so to get started here, we're going to want to first initialize another variable. Alright, and you can insert a line by going second delete. Insert two lines because we want to insert two things right here. First, we're going to initialize the variable s by setting it equal to 0. Alright. And what s is going to be for is to save the place of the start of our for loop here. So we can go ahead and change our start that's currently set to 0, and we're going to change it to s. Now notice that's not going to change anything immediately because we still initialized s to be 0, so it's still going to start at 0, but later in this program we're going to want to change that to simulate our scrolling. Alright? So next thing we want to do is add a label. And what this label will do is it will serve as a flag for the go-to command here. So we can jump back to whatever we labeled in that spot in our program. Alright? So go ahead and insert a label. And we have two characters, and we're going to name it ls, alright, for loop start. Alright? So that's that. Now we're going to keep scrolling through it here, and we're going to modify what we have in our little check for our line check right here, and we're going to delete these three lines right here. Alright, we're going to add a bunch of stuff right here, so go ahead and give yourself plenty of space there. Alright, I'm going to go back up to the top. Add another label. This will be, again, used later. We're going to call this UI for user interface, because basically what we're going to do here is create a user interface that's going to check to see what key the user is pressing, and we're going to act on that input. Alright? So to do this, to set this up, we're going to want to create a repeat loop. And this repeat loop, which is going to repeat for R, is essentially going to repeat infinitely until the user presses the right key that will exit the infinite loop. Alright, so to get the input, we're going to use the get key command. Alright, I'm going to store that as R. Now normally you'd use K to store your get key for, K key. Yeah, K key, that made sense. Alright, so store that as R, since we've already used K. And now we're going to want to perform the first check to see what key the user pressed. So if R equals 34. Now you're probably wondering, where did I get that number? Well, quite simply, the calculator has its own way of labeling each key on the calculator. Basically, 3 stands for the third column, or third row, fourth column, and that corresponds to the down arrow. Alright, if you're curious about the other keys, the other key codes for all the other keys, you can go Google them. I don't really care. I have all the ones I need. Alright, so next we're going to, so if the user presses the down arrow, then we're going to want to change our s variable. We're going to want to add 8 to it to simulate scrolling down. So we'll start 8 places further in our for loop. Alright? Because there are only 8 lines on our screen, so we'll jump 8 ahead and then start again to simulate scrolling. Alright, so store that as S. And then we're going to want to repeat. We're going to go back up to our for loop, and that's why we labeled it, so we can use the go-to. But we're not going to do that quite yet, because the next check here is also going to want to do that, so we can save some room here and put that one command after both of these checks. So just go ahead and end this, and then start the next one. That's going to check to see if the user presses the up key. Alright, then the up key is 25. Now what we're going to do after this is we're going to want to do the opposite of what the up key, the down key did, which is add 8. So for this one, we're going to want to take s and subtract 8. But we don't want s to go below 0, because that would be bad and mess things up. So we want to check to see if logic statement, and we want to check to see if s is already 0. So if s does not equal 0, then we can continue. But if it does, then we don't want to scroll up anymore. Alright, so if s does not equal 0, and the user presses the up key, then we can scroll up. So end that loop. And now one final check we're going to do is the exit. So if the user presses the enter key, then we want to terminate. Now we could just use the pause command, but I'm going to do it a little more fancy and use our get key here. So if r equals 105, which is again the enter key, if r equals 105, then, well, first we're going to want to clear the home screen, get things all nice before we leave, and then we're going to want to stop. Now when you want to terminate the program in the middle, you want to use the stop command. Instead of waiting for your program to run out of lines of code, you just slap this in there and it terminates early. Alright, so then we can end that check. And now we can also, well, we can give us some more space here. We can also end our repeat loop because we're done with that. Alright, and now we also want to clear the home again because we want to save some clear the space for our next set of terms that is going to be displayed. And now we don't want to forget about the original function of this check that we are in, the L equals 9 check, and that was to reset our line variable. So go ahead and store 0 as L to reset our line count. Alright, so we can start back at the beginning, because remember the first part of our for loop adds 1 to L, so then this will set us back on our first line. Alright, and now we want to go back up to our top. So go to the loop start. Alright, go to the loop start. That'll bring us back up to the top. Alright, and that's everything for that spot. So now we just want to go down here, and we can get rid of this because this was our original place to terminate the program, and we don't need it anymore because we already built in a way to do that. So instead, we're just going to add another go to our UI to wait for the user to press enter. So that's going to go back up to our loop there, our infinite loop, to see if the user wants to scroll up again and see the answers again, or just press enter and terminate. Alright, so that's that. Now let's go ahead and test her out. Exit here. Alright, let's use a big one. Let's try 12. Look at that, and there's our answer. Down arrow key, and there's the rest of it. Up arrow key, and we see the beginning of it, and look at that. Works like a charm. And we can press enter to terminate. Alright, so there's a tutorial on how to upgrade your binomial expansion program. Hope you liked it. Thanks for watching.